Good morning, YouTube. In today's video, I'm going to be making an argument in defense of concurrent styles of training, in particular, concurrently training size and strength. But before we get into the topic of today's video, if you would like to hire me for coaching, I am running a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale for the month of November, and everything is 30% off. So coaching, apparel, all of that is 30% off, and if you would like to work with me for just a few months, then that is an option available to you in the links in the description below. But let's get into today's topic. So oftentimes when I'm making these videos, I make a framework of a couple things. First, what do people want? Second, what is the problem or obstacle that gets in the way of what people want? And then finally, what can you do to mitigate all that or bypass it or work through it, right? Now, when it comes to concurrent training, a lot of people are very averse to using it still, even though there are so many great examples of people using it, that it's kind of baffling to me. Part of the reason why that the majority of people refuse to use it, or not necessarily refuse, but don't, is because of who they follow. If you follow people who just keep telling you what are the best bicep variations, and every single time you go into the gym, you just do a different type of bicep curl, you're not going to be making that great of a progress. If you listen to people who are constantly telling you about progressive overload, you might check out mentally, but the thing is, they're right. Why are you booing them? They're right. I get it that people will vote with their watch time, with their views, with the clicks, with the videos that they decide to click on. But that might be why, because a lot of the people who advocate for concurrent styles of training just don't really have as much subscribers as, let's say, a Jeff Nippard, a Omar Isuf when he was at his peak. I still watch him now and again, but I know that he's been kind of taking a backseat on that. Anyway, oftentimes, people who advocate this style of training, they're just not as big. I know when Jeff Nippard made his power building approach, that it kind of surged up a bit in terms of let's say popularity or trendiness, but I feel like that's gonna die out really soon, quite honestly. And only the people who are really about that life are going to remain. Like, people are going to, I hope, it's my hope, right? There are times where I'm a bit more skeptic and a bit more pessimistic or cynical, but it's my hope that power building is here to stay. And that's something that I'm going to be talking about on this channel for as long as I exist as a channel. So, but here's the thing. Oftentimes, even though people want to be big and strong, we hear this idea, we hear this idea that you can't train both at the same time, or at least that you shouldn't. Now, I get it. I 100% understand where they're coming from. If you want to get the most out of strength, train for strength. If you want to get the most out of size, train for size. But here's the issue. If you want both, just having this blanket statement of you can't isn't really all that convincing to me. For me, right, the way I want to describe myself and the way that I'm working towards is to be a bodybuilder who is absurdly strong. Now, if I were to be just focused completely on powerlifting, I would be way stronger because that would be my priority. However, because there's an element of me wanting to actually look good, look big, be muscular, that's going to take a hit on my strength, and to me that's worth it. So to not cater my information to people who think the exact same way as me, to me is just kind of kind of hopeless, or maybe intellectually dishonest. There are all ways to go about it, so long as you have a honest discussion about what you're talking about. When I'm talking about power building, I am saying you're going to be getting less muscle than if you just focus entirely on muscle, and you're going to be getting less strength than if you just focus completely on strength. But that doesn't make it a bad thing, because at the end of the day, it's about getting what you want. I want to be a mix of size and strength. That comes at the cost at being the best of either size or strength. This is kind of referred to in microeconomics as let's say or the way that I like to visualize it is a, profit possibility frontier or something like that. As you can tell, I didn't pay too much attention, but I did get an A. But anyway, when you try to focus so much onto one variable, let's say strength, right? If you maximize strength, that means you're getting absolutely zero of size. Now, obviously, this is a oversimplification, because in the real world, it doesn't actually work like that. If you train for strength, you're still going to get bigger, but you're not going to be getting as big as the person who trains for the purpose of size. So if you go to the extremes on either of these axes, you're not going to be getting the most in either one. But here's the thing, you can land somewhere in the middle, and if that somewhere in the middle is where you want to be, having people just tell you, oh, you can't chase, the hunter who chases two rabbits catches neither. Well, here's the thing. Power building done properly, which is what I'm trying to advocate on this channel, is not two goals, it's one. How do I get that middle path? There is such a thing as a middle path. There is such a thing as falling off that middle path too, where you just kind of have these unreasonable goals where you want to be maximally strong and maximally big. Not gonna work out, dude. Or dudette. Is that okay to say? I don't know. But there is such a thing as a middle path, and why not go for it if that's what you want? Fitness is it should be an entirely personal endeavor. Your goals are your goals. Why am I Italian? Anyway, so where do I think the problem all comes from? I think the problem comes from people wanting to be optimal, and they confuse being optimal with being maximal, right? So being like going to the absolute max of everything. If I'm training optimally, I'm going to be maximally strong. If I'm training optimally, I'm going to be maximally big. Where does this leave the power builder? If you're training optimally, you'll be in that middle, and you'll be able to recover, and you'll be able to get bigger, and you'll be able to get stronger, right? That's that middle path. But here's the thing. With any worthwhile endeavor, the path is narrow and it's steep. So you can obviously mess up. But here's the thing. When you confuse being optimal with being maximal, what ends up happening is that you start to enter this gray area where you just don't know what you're doing anymore. Because let's say and especially if you're a power builder, because let's say you hear something that's optimal or something that maximizes size. Sometimes that will work contrary to what maximizes strength, and vice versa. Sometimes certain things that you can do for strength training is not all that good for size. Doing single repetitions, doing stuff like that, right? Very important for strength, not very important for size. But how do you put that into your program? That's what power building, that's what I'm trying to do with this channel, is trying to bridge that gap of, okay, when you have two extremes, the answer is somewhere in the middle, right? So when it comes to strength training, size training, bodybuilding, powerlifting, whatever works for one might not entirely work for the other, but here's the thing. There is a middle ground somewhere. Now this does mean that you're going to be getting less of both, but at least you're getting both. Why is that a horrible thing? I think that people are just kind of unwilling to accept the fact that if you're not going to be getting the most of either one, then I'd just rather not do it. And in my opinion, that's such a horrible way to live. For me, because I really do want both, and because I think that, I do find that if you are strong, you can still have a incredible physique, then it doesn't really make sense to not be somewhere in the middle, right? So that's one thing. And the next part of this is that people really like to over-rely on studies and the science. And this is, I think, one of the worst parts about, let's say, YouTube fitness in the past couple of years. It's that everything tries to become science-based. I'm not saying that it is unnecessary to be science-based. There are channels out there that, relay the science much better than others. Jeff Nippert is let's say Jeff Nippert is right in the middle, right? He's sometimes very okay, sometimes not so okay, and other times pretty damn good, right? That's where he is. Then you have the Jeremy Ethers, or Ethernets. The Jeremy Ethers. No. Just gonna leave that there. Then you have people like Dr. Swole, right? Who I think actually does a much better job in general. Doesn't have as many likes, views, or whatever, but I do think that he actually has great content, great programs. I don't agree with everything on it, but the thing is, generally speaking, I think out of both of them, Dr. Swole and Jeff Nippert are much closer together than where Jeremy Ethier is, right? But anyway, those are kind of the science-based guys, right? Now, here's my issue with the whole approach of science being science-based. It's a marketing tactic, in my opinion. I don't really think that there's any other industry that relies on the term science-based to sell products. I don't think that there is a boxing coach who says science-based or something like that. They might appeal to how many athletes they've trained and successfully trained, but I'm not gonna see a boxing class be well, this is the most scientifically backed boxing class you'll ever be a part of. No, who the fuck, you would look at that and just think to yourself, what a fucking nerd, let me just go to the gym. Now, that is very short-sighted and that does have its limitations, but you know, there's still something to be said there, okay? My issue with the science-based marketing tactic is that it's not actually conveying what science is. Remember the scientific method from grade school. Once you know, go through an entire experiment and someone, you know, either supports or maybe disproves their hypothesis, they need to report their findings and then, you know, share it with everyone else so other people can run that experiment and then see what results they get. That's what science is. So if you're running a science-based program, it's 50% done. You need to actually run the program and then make an assessment and try to like isolate, okay, why do I think this worked? And then, so let's say for example, you run a program by Dr. Swole or even by me, right? You run the program, you see what progress you've made, and then like as you're reviewing your training log, look at it, be like, okay, what do I think worked? What do I think did not work? Generally speaking, you're gonna find that, okay, I really didn't like this, so it probably didn't work out all that well for you. That's kind of a baseline of like understanding, right? That's one way you can approach it. So then on your next training block, make adjustments. All right, I'm gonna take this out and see if my strength still improves. So let's say I don't like lunges or something like that, right? I'll cross that shit out and I'll just like maybe reallocate that volume to other movements. And then if my numbers still go up, if I still am happy with the size gains, I'm good. That's what science is. It's when you run these experiments on yourself. Science is this, it's the same thing with training, you know, it's the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. In science, it's the truth. What is truthful? And the thing is, truth, you're not looking, when you're training, you're not looking for a universal truth. You're not looking for what's going to work for everyone. Generally speaking, we know what will work for everyone, but how it reveals itself is very individual. The principles are always the same. Progressive overload, tension, the manipulation of volume, intensity, and fatigue, and things of that nature, right? All of those things are very clear. However, how you actually implement that is not so clear. And if you rely so much on the science, you're relying on data from other people, from averages, from people who are not you, which is something that I will bash on the head because I know I've talked about this a lot in previous videos, but I will never stop talking about it because people still make that same mistake. When you run a program, you have to reflect on the data that you have collected on yourself and modify that over time. So I'll be making more videos in the future talking about how that kind of revealed itself to me and why certain things that I recommend for the purposes of power building are the way that they are. But in this video, I just want to talk about more so the underlying concept first. Science-based doesn't mean shit if you're not making progress. If you're not at the level you want to be, what does it matter that you are running a science-based program? Like, congratulations, pat yourself on the back, dude. Like, you know the science better than me. Cool. Are you stronger than you were yesterday? Not even are you stronger than me. I don't really care if you're stronger than me, right? If you're not stronger than who you were yesterday, why does it matter? Like, oftentimes I think that these programs, you know, they might add 5-10 pounds, but it doesn't really add anything to your repertoire. It doesn't really add anything to your ability to get another 5 or 10 pounds. You run the program a second time and then you stall. You're like, if that's something that happens every time you run a new program, that means you're not learning what the program is meant to teach you. That means you're not learning what programming should be like. So be very careful with that. Now, here is where I want to kind of implement a pathway to overcoming this, right? First and foremost is accept you're going to get less, but you're going to get less of the extreme of size or strength, but you're going to get more of what you want. When I kind of put it through that framework, the decision to be a power builder is super easy because most people aren't going to be the pinnacle of strength. You know, I'm not going to be like the Julius Maddox of the world. I'm not going to be the Matt Wennings of the world, right? I should train with the intensity and the mindset of them, in the pursuit of them, in the path of them, but that doesn't necessarily mean I should expect the same results for that sole purpose. Not everyone who works hard succeeds, but everyone who not everyone who works hard succeeds, but everyone who has succeeded has worked hard. So when it comes down to working that path, that's what I'm focusing on. Not whether I'm science-based, not whether or not I'm actually going to reach that goal. Who cares? It's about being on the path. So that is what I want you to focus on. Don't be thinking to yourself like, if I'm not going to be the most in size, if I'm not going to be the most in strength, then what's the point? And don't think to yourself that even though you're pursuing a middle path, that you're getting absolutely nothing. It's not like I'm getting 50% of this and 50% of that. No, it's more like I'm getting like 80 and 80, because the actual carryover between the two and maximizing that carryover is still rather impressive. I have been doing nothing but power building training my entire training career, which honestly isn't that long, but in that time, I've hit a 5-plate bench, or 5-plate deadlift. I wish I had a 5-plate bench. A 5-plate deadlift, a 4-plate squat, and a 3-plate bench. All of these things, arguably, there are people who I know personally who have achieved very similar levels of strength in a much quicker fashion. But hey, I have bigger biceps than them. I can do more pull-ups than them. I can do this and that. I know I shouldn't be comparing it, but here's the thing. When I saw that, I was actually very vindicated or validated in my approach, because I was just like, all right, even if I don't have even if they're lifting close to my numbers, which, you know, I'm a somewhat competitive person. Even though they're lifting close to my numbers, I'm still outlifting them on more than just the squat, bench, and deadlift. It's not just like, okay, my sumo and my conventional are pretty much right there. Like my Romanian deads are like very close, right? Stiff leg deads, bench press, close grip bench press, dumbbell bench press. There's no big gaps in my strength. And that's one thing I'm noticing with like a lot of the clients that I train, a lot of my friends who work out, which, you know, I only have a few friends who work out because working out is actually pretty rare. The internet will make you think otherwise. But no, it's pretty rare, right? But anyway, there's no big gaps in my strength. If I were to pick up something and lift it, I would lift it in a manner or with an amount of weight that you would kind of expect for someone who's lifting this amount of weight. One thing I found was with people who just focus entirely on strength, I'll put you on I'll put something like I'll put you on a leg press, and it'll be kind of like, you know, that might not, like, you know, everyone can leg press 500 pounds, but if you're deadlifting or squatting like that as much as you are, like, I would expect you to do more. So that's why if you are going a concurrent approach, of size and strength, there is a lot of overlap. It's not perfect overlap, and I'm never going to say that it is, but it's just enough that if you maximize that middle path and just keep going at it, you're going to make great progress. But that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Just as a reminder, the Black Friday Cyber Monday sale is live on my website until the 1st of December. So 30% off on all products, apparel, coaching. So if you would like to receive coaching at a discount, that is available this month, right? And then other than that, thank you so much for watching. Always remember to start where you stand, and have a great day.